My colleague Emefa Ampao joins me in the studio. Emefa, it's good to have you. Now let's deal with the matter. If you're just joining us, let me just bring you give you the background information. Now we've just heard from ACP David Eklu, who is Director General Police Public Affairs, and he says that Multimedia Group wrote to the police service asking or indicating that it wanted an out of court settlement of sort as far as Latif Idris's case was concerned. That is not true. Absolutely not true. MFA, give us the details.
Okay, thank you very much, Gifty. I would want us to start from the very beginning of this whole issue. I'll give you a chronological happenings of this whole issue. You know that Latif was assaulted on the 27th of March this year, the same day that Kwaku Anyudoho, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, was arrested. Now, MGL and other well-wishers started mounting pressure for justice after that incident because a formal police complaint was lodged, and then we started mounting pressure for justice to know who were behind this issue because Latif was severely injured. Now, following the assault also on Ohima Sichua, you know that after that, weeks after, our colleague Ohima Sichua was also assaulted at the NPP headquarters. Then MGL wrote to the Ministry of Communications and the National Media Commission, piling the two issues together, seeking for justice for both Latif and then also Ohima Sichua. Now, after that, the NMC wrote inviting MGL to a meeting on Latif and Ohima's issues. After we had written to them asking that justice or something of the sort is done. Then we went into that meeting. At the meeting, that meeting was on the 16th of May in 2018. Then the NMC announced that they would want us to settle the matter out of court, out of the public eye and everything.
So basically that was a suggestion by the
National Media Commission in the presence of the police and the MGL, that is Multimedia Group Limited. Both sides agreed to it. But MGL, the delegation that led the MGL side to that meeting mentioned that they would want some time to return to the police and the NMC on that matter, specifically on the out-of-court settlement or the settlement of that issue.
Whether or not they agreed
Whether or not we
So
agreed.
there was no agreement,
so there was no
agreement
at that particular meeting. That is on the 16th of May. There was no agreement from the MGL agreeing to an out-of-court settlement or a settlement of a sort of that matter. Then we came back, but in the meantime, whilst we said we're going to think about it and get back to them on whether we would agree to a settlement or not, we were still mounting pressure. That was when Justice for Latif was on, if you recall. We kept on mounting pressure for investigations to continue on the matter. We didn't ask that investigations are halted or anything of the sort. Now, given the slow nature of the investigative process, but the need for urgent medical support for Latif, we know that there was the butt of a gun was used to hit his head, and he had a fracture of the skull. And we at a point, we needed to take him outside the country for medical attention.
As we speak, he is out of the country.
Exactly. So that's what happened. So on the MGO then responded on the 30th of May after that incident, and we said that we are amenable to settlement. But with a condition, we wanted that the police administration, we wanted some assurance from the Ghana Police Administration that they would continue to pursue that option. If they wanted the out-of-court settlement, we will want them to give us some form of assurance written, because remember, it was oral in that NMC meeting. And then whilst we continued, we were still piling pressure, asking for justice of a sort. Now, there was a response from the police on this out-of-court settlement issue on the 14th of June. It's become necessary for me to put out this letter, portions of that letter, for us to be clear on the matter, because considering that yesterday the Ghana Police Service issued a statement mentioning amongst others some issues that they wanted to be kept confidential, but yet has found its way into that statement that was issued by the police service, signed by ACP David Eklu. And then in our subsequent, at that forum today also, these same issues have come up, even though they wanted it to remain confidential. You recall also that on the morning show some time ago, ACP Eklu was asked about the outcome of the investigation on Latif. And he mentioned that they had sent the report to MGL management. But that was not a report, Gifty. It was a letter in response to our letter that we had written to them on the 30th of May on the issue of out-of-court settlement. And this letter, I would read portions of it. And it was on the 14th of June. It says, proposed settlement of case involving assault of Latif Idris, journalist, the Multimedia Group. That was in response to our proposed settlement issue. Then it says, please refer to your letter dated 30th May on the above mentioned subject. I am directed by the Inspector General of Police to acknowledge receipt of the said letter and further to inform you that the matter involving the named journalist is still under police investigation. Okay. It would therefore be appreciated if the victim or complainant could be made to cooperate with the investigation. And 3, it says the police would like to place on record that the victim will be accorded all the necessary assistance to enable us arrive at a conclusive determination of the reported case. In this regard, the police administration would like to reiterate its full commitment to accord the complainant all courtesies due him. After this, this is what we did as MGO. They asked that we make Latif and all the victim and the complainants in this issue be made available to cooperate with them.
That was done.
So these are 2 persons, aside Latif Idris, my colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson, and then Joel, who is a cameraman. They were the 2 persons there that saw everything that happened. Since then, they have been made available to the police to cooperate to help with the investigative process. So note that this letter that was written back to the police, that's the only letter also that we have. It did not state anything about out-of-court settlement or the police agreeing for an out-of-court settlement or a settlement of any sort. Right. So I must emphasize that that is what happened. And then as it stands now also, MGL is pressing for the police investigations to continue. Right. At no point have we written to the police to stop the investigative process as we explore all other options to seek justice and proper medical care for Latif. There's also a portion quickly that I want to address, then we can wrap up on that. The issue about medical reports. We've seen in some publications that Latif never presented a medical report to the police. I must state that when the incident occurred, Latif first went to the Lighthouse Mission Hospital to get a police report. We presented that and we were told we need a police report from a government hospital or a government institution. That was subsequently done. A medical report. And that was subsequently done and presented to the cantonment police. There's also finally an issue about some monies or some support that has been provided by the police to be able to help in Latif's to defray costs in Latif's medical bill. I must say that some 3,000 Ghana cedis was given by they sent a delegation here to bring 3,000 Ghana cedis to the head of news here because he's directly under, Latif directly works under him. Yes, his line manager. I must state that when this 3,000 Ghana cedis was presented, we've had to do this because of some form of bad faith that has come from the police, because these issues are now contained in the statement that was issued by the police. So it's public now. When that money was brought, we specifically asked the Ghana Police Service, we want to make it as part of our justice for Latif. We want everybody to know that this is the attempt that you've made so far. You presented 3,000 Ghana cedis as part of defraying the medical cost. Should we put it out? We were told no.
So the police was explicit in their request, not for that,
not for public consumption, and that because it will not be done for everyone and all that. So we would hope that that will not be made public. It will not be put out. But that has been put out in the statement. So for clarity and for clarification, that 3,000 Ghana cedis is still sitting at the HR office as if we expected this to happen. So that money is still there untouched, 3,000 Ghana cedis, and that is the only amount that we've received from the Ghana Police Service assistance in this matter.
Healing process. And now putting it in this statement makes it look as though
without putting the amount also in there as to how much you've given, but saying that you've helped in giving some form of help to Latif in terms of defraying his medical costs.
Right.
Because his medical cost is way more than 3,000 Ghana cedis. Like you said, it's outside the country as we speak, seeking medical attention. So that's by way of clarity on this matter.
MFA, that makes it really clear. So as I was saying, that statement by ACP David Eklu that Multimedia has had sought to try to get an out of some sort of settlement on this matter is not true. MFA Apau makes it very clear in the statement that she's presented to us. MFA, thank you once again.